In the summer of 2015, a 14-year-old boy frequently exchanged Snapchats with his friend Ben. One evening, after Ben had been unresponsive for a while, the boy sent a humorous picture to catch his attention. He noticed Ben opened the snap but didn't reply. Concerned, he sent a text message, but again received no response. Growing uneasy, he reached out to another friend, asking if Ben had lost his phone. The friend confirmed that Ben had indeed misplaced it. Feeling unsettled, the boy called Ben's home number. Ben answered and confirmed that his phone had been missing for hours. The boy then revealed that someone had been accessing Ben's account, viewing snaps, and reading his texts. Alarmed, Ben urged the boy to come over, but he hesitated, unsure of what to do next. Instead, he sent a message to the unknown person using Ben's phone, requesting its return. His plea was met with silence. Minutes later, the boy received a new Snapchat notification from Ben's account. He opened it and was greeted by an unsettling image. A man with a sinister, wide grin staring directly at the camera. The caption read, "Coming over." Shocked, the boy immediately called Ben again. In a panic, he asked if Ben had saved their addresses in his phone. Ben confirmed he had, and the realization hit them both like a punch to the gut. Whoever had the phone now knew exactly where they lived. Moments later, the boy received another chilling text from the intruder, "You're good looking." Panic set in as the gravity of the situation became clear. Someone not only had access to their private conversations, but was also taunting them, making his intentions ominously clear. That night, sleep was elusive. Every small noise seemed amplified, and shadows outside his window felt menacing. Around 3 a.m., he finally dozed off, only to awaken feeling strangely hot and disoriented. He noticed a white flash of light in the room and turned to see that his window, which he had shut and locked earlier, was now wide open. There, leaning into his room, was the man from the Snapchat, his camera pointed directly at the boy. Paralyzed by fear, the boy locked eyes with the intruder, whose smile seemed even more grotesque up close. It took him a moment to react, but when he did, he screamed with all his might. The man flinched, nearly dropping his camera, and then scrambled to flee. The boy's parents, awoken by the scream, rushed into the room just as the intruder vanished into the night. Shaken and terrified, they immediately called the police. The officers arrived quickly, taking statements and assuring the family that they would find the man. They were able to track the phone signal, and within a few hours, they arrested the suspect less than 2 miles away. He was found with Ben's phone in his possession, along with other stolen items. Ben was able to retrieve his phone, but the experience left both boys deeply shaken. This incident serves as a sobering reminder of how quickly a harmless situation can spiral into something far more dangerous. The boy's innocent exchange of messages with his friend turned into a nightmare because of one malicious individual's actions. It's a stark warning about the potential dangers of digital communication, especially when sensitive information is shared without caution. Knowing that a stranger was able to find and invade his personal space left the boy scarred, and it took him a long time to feel safe in his own home again. A 13-year-old boy had recently started chatting with a girl he liked. Their conversations had become a daily highlight for him, filled with jokes and light-hearted exchanges. One evening, she sent him a casual snap of herself lying in bed, looking relaxed and content. He smiled and replied, thinking nothing of it. A few moments later, she sent another picture, almost identical to the first. But something was different. In the background, pressed against her window, was a hand. The sight sent a chill down his spine. He stared at the image, his mind racing for an explanation. Trying to stay calm, he quickly texted her, asking if it was her brother playing a prank. He waited anxiously for her response, each second feeling like an eternity. When she finally replied, it wasn't what he'd hoped for. Her next snap showed the figure in more detail, a shadowy form, now closer to the window, almost as if it was trying to get inside. Panic set in. His hands trembled as he typed out a frantic message, urging her to turn around and check. What if it wasn't just a joke? What if someone was really outside her house, watching her? He waited in agonizing silence, his heart pounding, his mind conjuring up terrifying scenarios. What if she didn't see the message in time? What if the person outside was already in her room? Minutes stretched into what felt like hours before his phone buzzed again. It was a text, not a snap, and he could almost feel her fear through the words on the screen. She explained that when she finally turned around, she saw the intruder, a man in his 20s, climbing through her window. Shocked and terrified, she screamed and bolted out of her room, running straight to her parents' bedroom. Her parents, jolted awake by her screams, rushed to her room, but by the time they got there, the man was gone. He had vanished into the night, leaving behind only a shattered sense of safety and a deep, lingering fear. They immediately called the police, who arrived within minutes. The officers searched the area thoroughly, but there was no sign of the intruder. He had disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. The boy, still clutching his phone, felt a wave of relief wash over him when he learned she was safe. But the fear lingered. He replayed the events in his mind, wondering if he could have done something differently, something that might have prevented the man from getting so close. It was a terrifying realization. How something as innocent as a late-night conversation could suddenly become a life-threatening situation. For the girl, the experience was nothing short of traumatic. The thought that someone had been lurking outside her window, watching her, waiting for the right moment to strike, was something she couldn't easily forget. Her room, once a place of comfort and security, now felt exposed and unsafe. The image of the man climbing into her room haunted her dreams, and for weeks afterward, she couldn't sleep without the lights on. Her parents took immediate action, installing new locks on all the windows and doors, and adding security cameras around the house. But even with these precautions, the sense of safety they had once taken for granted was shattered. The police conducted multiple interviews and canvassed the neighborhood, but the intruder was never found. The incident left everyone involved shaken, their lives disrupted by a stranger's terrifying intrusion. This story serves as a stark reminder of how quickly a seemingly harmless situation can spiral into something far more dangerous. It's easy to forget, especially in the digital age, that every interaction, no matter how innocent it seems, can carry unforeseen risks. The girl was simply chatting with a friend, sharing a glimpse of her evening, but that small window into her life became a dangerous opportunity for someone with malicious intent. For the boy, it was a harsh lesson in the limits of digital communication. He had seen the danger before she did, but he was powerless to help her beyond sending warnings. The incident made him acutely aware of how vulnerable we can be, even in our own homes, and how important it is to be vigilant about our surroundings and cautious about what we share online. A high school senior was home one night, winding down after a long day. He had just finished his homework and was getting ready to go to bed when his phone buzzed with a notification from Snapchat. The message was from someone named Hector, a name he didn't recognize. Curious but not wanting to engage with a stranger, he ignored it and went back to scrolling through his social media feed. About 30 minutes later, another notification appeared. It was Hector again. Feeling uneasy, he decided to open the snap. The first image was unsettling. A dimly lit room with a shadowy figure barely visible in the darkness. He couldn't make out much detail, just the outline of a face obscured in the shadows. Confused, he wondered if it was some sort of prank. He shrugged it off, and was about to close the app when another snap came through. This time, it was a photo of a road. The caption read, "On my way." A sense of dread began to creep in. He stared at the photo, trying to figure out where it had been taken. It looked vaguely familiar, but he couldn't place it. A few more snaps followed, each one showing landmarks that were increasingly closer to his neighborhood. Panic started to set in when he realized that Hector was only a couple of blocks away from his house. His heart raced as he frantically texted his friends, hoping one of them was behind this and that it was just a twisted joke. But they all swore they had nothing to do with it. As he was typing another message, another notification from Hector popped up. This time, it was a picture of his own street, taken from just down the road. The caption was simple but chilling. "Almost there." His stomach dropped. The idea that a complete stranger knew where he lived was terrifying. Desperate, he called one of his closest friends, explaining the situation in a breathless rush. His friend agreed to come over, sensing the genuine fear in his voice. They sat together in the living room, both on edge, watching the windows and waiting for any sign of movement outside. Just as they were beginning to think it was over, another notification came through. The boy hesitated, then opened the snap. It was a photo of his house, taken from the front yard. The figure in the photo was still obscured, but it was clear he was standing right outside. Without a word, they bolted outside, adrenaline fueling their steps. But when they got there, the yard was empty, the only sound the wind rustling through the trees. The quiet was unsettling, as if the night itself were holding its breath. They looked around, checking the street and peering into the darkness, but saw no one. Just as they were about to go back inside, another snap came through. This one was of the back door with the caption, "I see you." They sprinted to the backyard, fear and anger propelling them forward. As they approached the gate, they caught a glimpse of a figure darting into the shadows. They gave chase, their footsteps pounding against the pavement, but it was no use. The stranger disappeared into the night, leaving them standing there, hearts racing, a mix of frustration and fear coursing through their veins. After his friend left, the boy tried to calm down, but sleep wouldn't come. Every creak of the house, every rustle of the wind outside, sent his mind spiraling back to the faceless figure who had been so close, watching him. When morning finally came, he grabbed his phone with a sense of dread. Sure enough, there were 3 new snaps from Hector. Each one was more unsettling than the last. The first showed the side of his house, the second, a view through the living room window, and the third, a close-up of his bedroom window. He stared at the last image, the realization hitting him like a punch to the gut. The intruder had been watching him, perhaps even while he slept, standing just feet away, separated only by a thin pane of glass. He blocked the user and reported the incident to Snapchat, but the response he received was a generic, unhelpful message. The experience left him shaken, the lingering fear of being watched creeping into his every thought. He couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability, the knowledge that someone had been so close, observing his every move.